Yeah, that's a fact. So we're sitting in Miami today, and obviously there's a lot of people in this room, mostly founders, which is super super dope. I want to know what excites you most about what you're seeing in Miami from a technology perspective.
You know, it's so interesting. I've lived in Miami for 17 years, traveling the majority of it. And I made a commitment about a year ago to get to be a part of my community, which is very different than living here and traveling and just coming home and staying in your own environment. So again, when I walked upstairs, I said to two of my teammates who came with me, wow, like this is beautiful, because you don't know that it exists when you're traveling in and out of town and you're just doing what you do and you're in your own comfort zone. You just don't know that this stuff is out here. So it excites me, number one. Number two, I recently, the Ford Foundation just put me on an advisory board for something called Her Impact. And Miami was one of the cities that were doing something on November 12th. And so it excites me to see that not only is this happening just in Miami, but it's happening for Black women and Black men, and that we can create our own culture here that doesn't have anything to do with tourism and partying the way that they keep trying to describe Miami. Miami is a city with a lot of business potential.
Yeah, dope. I actually have a couple of investors here too, by the way. You're my favorite by far. But there's actually money here too. There's one of the things I think is really unique about Miami and Los Angeles is that you can actually raise some early capital from other angels because there's a lot of high profile, high net worth individuals in those two communities specifically that can be leveraged and actually come from environments that are one of the things that I do not like about Silicon Valley is that a lot of those individuals don't understand the pain points that we have. And I think a lot of the companies that we found are based upon some of the pain points that we've experienced. And, my company Solo is one of those. But, I think that if you can get in some early capital from people who understand where you're coming from and the problems that you're solving, I think that goes a long way. But it actually helps you kind of create the springboard or buffer to where you actually don't have to go through this huge formal process with an angel investor, and then you can get ready so that when you get to an individual like Monique, you're actually more prepared. But don't ever discount where you guys are and the resources that you have readily available to you.
And as depending upon which stage you're in, I also encourage all founders to try to go through some form of an acceleration process to really, really help understand what the business side of it, outside of just the creation of the idea and the solution. There is a real business side to it. So I know that there are amazing, accelerators. I know that Founders Gym is an online accelerator that, you don't have to be there. You can do it online. I also encourage, one of the things I learned about, which is so trippy to me, is free education, right? Like right now, we are in debt so much fighting for this American dream of education. And debt right now is at its highest for us. But there's something called edx.org, and it's free. It's free online education. Harvard, MIT, Stanford, Wharton Business School. I mean, you name it, it's all on there. And every opportunity I get to share that, I try to share that because no matter what stage you're in, learning should never stop for you. I take classes on it. But it's amazing. So, there are tools and resources out here before the financial limitations start becoming too heavy.
Yeah, dope. So I wanna take some time because again, there's a lot of founders in the room, and I want to make sure that you guys get the most out of the resources. Well, one, you're the main resource here. I'm just a sidekick, but you want to make sure that you guys get the most out of this experience. So I want to open it up to the floor for some questions. Got one right here. Yeah, I think. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. So outside of just pure bias, of course, some of the reasons why minorities don't get invested in is because the traditional metrics that VC have used for Caucasian males might not be applicable for the minority community. So for example, if you're a minority in a secondary market that has humble networks and literally doesn't have anyone that could work for sweat equity, you would be a single founder, right? So my question is, do you think it's possible that by using filters like single founder and not personally investing in your own company that you are shutting the door on some bomb-ass minority talent?
So, so let me answer that. I would say to that, I would tell you if single founder came to me, I would sit down with them, help them understand what their business idea, and then I would show them 5 or 6 people, right? You can't, listen, there's universities everywhere. There are graduating students who want to be a part, who are getting their masters, who are a part of all types of ideas, who will absolutely come on for some vested interests into the company. I think that anyone who's come to me, they've come back better when they've had a team. So I'm not saying that it's not possible, I'm sure. I'm just saying for Rain Ventures, we take pride that no company has shut down in our portfolio. So we are very strategic and intentional with the type of companies, being plural, like a team of people. But it doesn't mean that we don't lend support to single founders so that you can get to a place where you can find a team. It just means we're not giving the financial resources in the beginning.
Yeah, one thing that kind of troubled me with what you asked though was that the metrics being different just because they're white. The metrics are the metrics, and in our markets, first of all, we're the biggest consumers in the country, even though we only make up 13%. So when you look at the opportunity that we have, focusing on just the problems that our community faces, these are these are lucrative businesses. It's just about, do we take the right steps to get it off the ground, and do we align ourselves with the right people in order to make it a success? But as far as metrics, we have the ability to achieve, first of all, Black Planet should have been Facebook. There's a lot of companies that we've had that were done before some of these companies that were household names. I mean, I lived in New York City a large portion of my life. Uber existed outside the grocery store. There was always a group of Caribbean men who would say, you need a ride, you need a taxi, and exactly. And you were getting in the car with a stranger, and he was taking you somewhere, and he was dropping you off, and you were paying him money. There was no technology behind it, but the founders of Uber didn't create that idea. They just saw it and created an opportunity around it that was bigger. They thought bigger than that person who was standing out there to take someone on a ride.